If you like great XXX programs like Do Top Up and Slob on My Knob, you'll want to support our hard drive.
Hard drive?
That's right, Nettie White.
Absolutely. If you watch even 1 second of No Kids 3 Money and don't contribute, you're a thief. A common thief.
Alright, take it easy, Nettie.
Sorry, but these listeners make me so damn mad. You know who you are, Boardman.
Traumatic childhood.
We needed those. We really did.
Which is true. Means death for us all.
Up yours, children.
Why does mine look like that? And we never did.
Welcome to your new favourite. They say the last thing you do before you get your eyes crap your burn. Welcome to your new favourite podcast by your old favourite show. It is No Kids 3 Money, a Simpsons podcast through the lens of time. I am one half your host, Ned.
And I'm Matt.
God damn it, that's the wrong button. I think I was on you the whole time.
You stupid.
Exactly what we spoke about.
And joining us as always, no one.
Absolutely no one. I should have just set up a camera for just a blank space.
Mr. Black. Hello, Keegs is not Mr. Black.
Yes. Yeah, it was actually it's pretty quiet in here compared to how crowded it was for the last 2 weeks.
Yes. 2 whole weeks.
Yes.
We do that.
We do that. We do that a lot. So what do we have in store for the people this week, Matt?
We have Season 3, Episode 3, according to Disney Plus, Episode 2.
Yeah, that's how I started titling it.
Yep. Season 11, Episode 15, and Season 21, Episode 17.
Yes. Surprisingly good offering from Season 21 this week. Which is like, you know, did we figure out that it was exactly Episode 17 last time as well that was good in Season 20?
It was Episode 19,
okay.
Season 20.
So it was pretty close.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, close enough. But yeah, it's, you know, going to be interesting for like the first week in what would be nearly since, well, hang on, it's nearly been like 20 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, so 5 months.
Yes.
Since the last good season.
Since the last good
plus
season
offering.
20 episode. You just heard us ripping on it for fucking months and months and months. And yeah, this one will just be like, it wasn't fantastic, but it was better than the last couple.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, significantly better than the last couple. Last week's was horrendous.
I think because they didn't try too hard and they didn't reference too many things, whereas they stayed true to like the plot of a couple of movies in this instance. And it really just made for a good offering.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing. Like there was a couple of like you didn't actually know which way they were going to go kind of thing. And then you sort of start to figure towards the end, it's like, oh, they're just taking like the best bits from all of these like prison movies and just sort of chucking them in.
Yeah.
Let's go to the food court and steal some baked potatoes.
Hey, Flanders, when are your busy hours?
Oh, I expect things to start picking up soon. You know, I think word of mouth is starting to spread.
Hey, I hear you validate parking tickets without purchase.
Oh, right as rain. Or as we say around here, left as rain.
Just stamp the ticket.
Okay.
Alrighty, so do you want to start us off with a synopsis for Season 3, Episode 3?
No. Titled, When Flanders Failed. Synopsis reads, Homer makes a wish for Ned Flanders to be a financial failure. The wish comes to life when Flanders' store catering to left-handed people goes out of business, causing the Flanders family to end up financially in trouble. When finding out that Ned's house is to be repossessed, Homer feels guilty and decides to help by telling all the left-handed population of Springfield about the leftorium and calling in a few favors from his friends. This helps Ned keep the store and get his house back. Meanwhile, Bart goes to the Japanese bartender Akira and takes karate lessons, but quits after he discovers that it is not as interesting as he had expected it to be.
Japanese bartender?
I think because he worked at the fugu shop, but I wouldn't say he was a bartender. He was more of a waiter.
I would say he was, like a waiter or a sushi chef or something. No, he was like the host.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. That's
made a D?
Yeah, that would be the correct term for it. But yeah, some of these synopsises are just not correct.
No, they've been AI'd up.
Oh, yeah.
More than likely.
100%.
My first note is the Simpsons writer, George Meyer, came up with the idea of the leftorium when the creators were trying to figure out what Ned's failed business would be. The inspiration came from a family friend of the Meyer family who opened a left-handed store that was quickly forced to close down due to lack of business.
Wait a minute, you're telling me some actually dumb enough to open a left-handed store.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go to my last note like straight away, essentially, because like it's sort of one of my last notes explains how dumb of an idea that is. It's like nothing is left-handed. There is very, 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 very few things in this world that are actually specifically like, this is a left-handed one of these.
Yeah. So you'd need like left-handed scissors are a thing. I know that for sure because like it hurts if you use the wrong-handed scissors. What else would there be? Like having the gear stick on the left-hand side is a thing for everyone, whereas some people might need their right hand as the dominant gear shifting hand, I guess, because people in the US drive on the other side.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So like the left-handed car, for instance, would be handy. What else would there be that would be necessary to be left-handed?
I don't actually, like I can't think of anything that's like completely necessary, well, like apart from those couple of things that we mentioned that are completely necessary to be left-handed. But that's the whole like impetus of this episode. Every item that is mentioned is just inherently like
a left-handed ice cream scoop.
Yeah, left-handed screwdrivers, left-handed can openers. Wait, maybe can openers.
Yeah, that could be a thing actually. Oh, I don't know. They go both ways.
Oh.
Can you touch your left hand for me? Yeah, what is it? I wonder what the population of left-handed people is. It's like 1 in, 10 people maybe?
And people are left-handed, or did I miss that?
It was
did I mishear that?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Catering for the 1 in 9 people that are left-handed.
Okay, maybe it was 1 in 9.
I vaguely remember a 9.
Yeah, that's what threw me off, but I didn't hear the quote completely and then didn't go back and listen to the rest of it.
And we never did.
That is really far away.
Oh, yeah.
I got to use 2 things. Well, you'd have to get up.
Left-handed foot.
My first note is 15th round of the Canadian football draft.
Oh, God.
Which is the excuse that, well, not excuse, because they obviously get like invited in the very first scene to go over for the barbecue, and then he goes inside and says, yeah, we're not fucking going.
Yeah.
And starts shit-talking Flanders, and Marge is like, why have you got to be such a cunt all the time?
I don't care if he's the nicest guy in the world. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
Just completely contradicts himself straight away.
It's just kind of like, it's sort of set up from the get-go that obviously there's like this inherent jealousy that Homer has with like Flanders, and Flanders being better off.
Yeah.
And then, that question sort of gets answered as to like why he's better off, because, we'll keep going a little bit so I can actually get to my point. Marge goes over to the barbecue and says something about like, oh, Homer's got some important work at the plant that nobody else can do, and then it cuts to the TV and it's the 15th round of the Canadian football draft.
Yeah.
So there's a Canadian football league as well as an American football league, and some people watch the Canadian league, but it's apparently like, what would be the best equivalent for it? It's like
Super
League for us kind of thing. It's like, it's okay to watch, but it's like nowhere near the same skill level and not the top flight athletes.
It's like that Super League game we did watch, what was it, maybe a month ago now, and they just dropped the ball every set.
Yes.
Yeah. And like didn't look devastating at all either side.
No, it was like a high grade, like I've seen better games of football like
park footy
2 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
Than what was on display on fucking national television.
Yeah.
For like that was like the grand final teams competing against each other, wasn't it?
I don't know. Probably not.
You wouldn't think so. You fucking hope not.
No.
My next note is Homer's head out the window.
The salivating scene. Yeah. I've got Homer and Santa's little helper salivating out the window like a wild animal.
It's fucking great. And then you see like Bart like staring over at him like it looks like he's going to frisbee a fucking burger at him or something like that.
Yeah. There was a note, the smoke from Flanders barbecue forms fingers that seem to come out of the TV, a reference to Poltergeist.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it's a reference to like Disney.
What, fingering? Matt loves rooting.
No, just in the sense of like that sort of like, you know, the
The smoky.
Yeah, like the
Disney
smoke
opening.
going in. No, just like the smoke actually going off of like food and like going into people's nostrils and lifting them off the ground and stuff like that. That's like a Disney or Pixar trope or something like that.
Yeah, true. I could sort of pertain it to like Looney Tunes-esque.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't get the Poltergeist reference, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
And then yeah, my next note is Ned worked in pharmaceuticals ? Which is obviously like why he's so like well off.
Yeah, true.
I'm not sure to what capacity he worked in them, but obviously if he was like a salesman or a rep or something like that, he probably made a decent amount of money.
Yeah, for sure. And he'd be used to knocking on people's doors and giving them the good word anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, my note for that was Flanders involved in pharmaceuticals as well, because it was like, oh yeah, we haven't really been told what Flanders does for a living, and we don't usually get told what he does for a living either.
No, and it's literally that. Well, I suppose it was maybe they didn't know themselves kind of thing, and then when they came up with this concept, they were like, well, he's obviously got to be leaving a job.
Yeah.
So what's a very like ambiguous like industry that we could say he was a part of?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Flancrest Enterprises.
It'd be weird if it was like, oh, I'm a doctor and I'm quitting that or something like that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Or just say like pharmaceuticals. It's such a fucking wide range of things that it could pertain to.
Yeah. There was another good like line from Flanders when he's got people all gathered around the table eating. He's like, there was another sinister plan I had in mind. Sinister being Latin for left-handed, of course.
Is it?
I didn't look. I assume so. I did look at a lot of other things I had questions on, but I forgot that one.
Right. My next note is make a wish. Nah.
Yeah, I had a note of just Homer super childlike for most of the episode.
Most of it until he obviously like sees. Well, once again, I'll like go to my end note kind of thing because it just sort of pertains to this.
Yeah.
I think Homer was mean to Flanders the whole time up until his store was on the brink of closing because he's not used to anything ever happening how he imagines it.
Yeah,
or he's kind
true.
of just not used to like getting his own way, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, and it all sort of came to fruition because Maude gave them a wishbone to break in half, and then Maude was asking what Homer was going to wish for, and he went into that dream state of like a couple of newspapers flashing onto the screen of like Homer does world peace.
Said it was like world peace achieved. President declares world peace. Then it said like President Simpson declares world peace. President Simpson wins the Super Bowl.
That's right.
And then finally it goes over to Flanders.
Like a pictorial effort for the next three. So it was another rule of threes. It was Ned crying and like sort of, I don't know, homeless looking with like his pockets turned inside out.
Yep.
And then he's like, keeps thinking it's the roller shutters coming down on the leftorium and him crying. He's like, and then it goes to just Ned's grave. Too far.
Too far. It goes back and he's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, then he's like laughing with his mouth full.
Yeah. For fucking ages too.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
But it's funny in season 3.
And then the subtitle, left-handed laughing.
Only I may make jokes go too long.
Do you have an Akira note next?
No, my next. Yes, I do. What do you have?
Hello, I'm Akira. Hey-ya! That did not hurt very much.
His eyes like closed. But no, the next note I just have is huge nut shot because after that, like after the infomercial of it starts off with Marge walking in and saying that like Bart's got a gut and worried that he's sitting there watching too much TV. So the commercial comes on, they agree that he's going to go and do karate.
Yeah.
And then like as Homer and him are walking up to the studio, there's two dudes that are like obviously sparring inside, and one guy just rails the other guy in the dick.
Yeah. Oh, the touch of death.
It's fucking great. Yeah, the real touch of death.
Yeah. I got a few notes about Akira's school there.
Mm-hmm.
So Akira's school is located in the mall next to Shakespeare's Fried Chicken, a reference to the English poet and playwright William Shakespeare. Mr. Burns says, "My kingdom for a left-handed can opener," a reference to the line, "My kingdom for a horse" in Shakespeare's Richard III. So there's a couple of references there. So like the Burnsy one was, I after Homer put the suggestion in the suggestion box at work that there's no more apples in the vending machine, or that he doesn't want apples. And then back to Akira's school, he says he's going to teach Bart the art of war. And this is when Bart sort of gets upset and leaves because he doesn't want to read a book for karate. And I looked at what The Art of War was by Sun Tzu. It's composed of 13 chapters. Each one is devoted to a different set of skills or art related to warfare and how it applies to military strategy and tactics.
I read The Art of War.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's good?
I don't remember it. It is a good book, though.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I don't remember, like, I can't recite passages word for word kind of thing, but it is a very interesting book.
It's like an East Asian specific, like, strategy guide.
Sun Tzu was a notorious, like, I'm not sure exactly what era he's from, but like a warlord and very successful.
Yeah, they still use The Art of War to, like, train.
Yeah,
the military
100%.
too.
It's still it's applicable in like even just like the base lessons kind of thing are applicable at like most points in life, not just like military training and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
It is a very interesting book. You should read it.
Yeah.
It's not very long either.
And we never did.
I actually do like reading, so I may.
Well, I didn't read it. I listened to it.
I don't care.
So you cheated.
Yes. Well, my next note goes on to describe exactly what Schadenfreude is, which was fucking great.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Like Ned.
I'm going to purpose a party trick. So they're all sitting around the dinner table, and I can't remember exactly what. Oh no, there's something that spurs this on as well, isn't there? Like Flanders is like.
I think Homer goes and visits
That's
the
right.
Leftorium.
He visits him, and yeah, he figures out that he hasn't had any customers yet or anything like that. That lady comes in and gets her parking validated, and then fucks off.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're talking about it at the dinner table, and he's all happy because Flanders is failing, and Lisa explains to him like the concept of Schadenfreude, and then he just blows it off, then completely explains how he's feeling, which is the concept of Schadenfreude.
What was it like?
Shameful joy, essentially.
Shameful joy,
It's to feel like happy about somebody else's downfall.
Misfortune, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Homer says something along the lines of, what's the opposite of Schadenfreude? And then Bart pipes up with something. Can't remember what it was, though.
Nah, Lisa answers that question as well. She says something like sour grapes. And he's like, the Germans have a word for everything.
That's right. I think it was also at the dinner table in this same scene. They asked Bart what he learnt at karate, and he's like, the touch of death, of course. And then, Lisa, shut your eyes. Soon you will be at peace. Which comes up a lot during the episode too.
Mom, make him stop. Bart, don't touch your sister with the touch of death. Yeah. You're right, it does come back a couple of times.
Yeah.
My next note is pinking shears.
That's when the bullies steal stuff from the Leftorium, and then they're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, they don't even know what it is. It's fucking great.
They stop stealing it. They just throw it away.
Yeah.
My next note was, that'll learn him, which was a phrase I say all the time, and I didn't know where I exactly got it from.
Ah, right. And that's like immediately after that, isn't it?
Pretty sure. I can't remember who. I think it was Homer that said it.
Yeah, because he goes in again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the next one must be the suggestion box thing. So Homer's at work looking through the vending machine, hoping for candy, and it's just like different apples. He's like, hey, I know you. You're the first apple.
Yeah, first apple I didn't want.
Yeah. And then as Homer's filling in the suggestion box, Smithers opens up the door and says, bring that box inside right now.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Pinpointing Homer out for it.
Yeah.
And then Burnsy forgets who Homer is again in this episode.
Yeah, which is like a couple of weeks now in a row in these season 3 episodes that they've had interactions, and Burns has just been like, oh, who are you?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think the next scene after that is him like going home, and Flanders is having the yard sale, and he just completely swindles him for fucking like $20 for a $300 barbecue, then guilts him into giving him a whole bunch of other shit.
Yeah, he says, all right, Homer, $20. No, I don't want it. Throw in a few of those lawn chairs.
It's something else.
Yeah.
Well, my next note is just my favorite line, pretty much from the episode.
Yeah.
It's just so irrelevant, but like, yeah, Lisa and Marge walk outside, see that the Flanders stuff is essentially just their backyard setup now.
Homer's got like a world's greatest dad hat.
Yeah.
And a Ned Loves Maud t-shirt on.
Yeah.
Bart's wearing Flanders glasses.
That's right. They're all they're speaking in Flanderisms at the start. I can't remember exactly what Lisa says, but she goes to reach for something, and Bart's just like, "Keep your hands off my China hutch."
That's right.
China hutch.
Yeah.
So fucking specific.
Something I had growing up. Remember the China cabinet?
Oh yeah.
Playing nutball in front of it.
Yeah, just playing very dangerous things right next to the China cabinet.
Yeah, there was a note that I took was like, is everyone in Springfield left-handed? Because it went through so many different montages of like people struggling with a right-handed piece of accessory, like the corkscrew, the can opener, and the left-handed ledger from the debt collector. So that's another.
That was a
rule of
good scene
threes.
too.
Yeah,
that dude turns up and like starts like essentially just berating Homer.
Yeah,
saying like, do you think it's not okay to not pay your bills and shit like that? And Homer starts crying, and then he says, "Mr. Flanders," and he's like, "Oh, I'm not Ned Flanders, I'm Homer Simpson." And he goes, "Oh, okay, sorry about that." And he goes to go next door, and he's like, "Wait, you say your name was Homer Simpson?" "Yeah, I'll see you on Thursday."
No.
My next note is, who's Jerry?
Oh, that's when Homer's calling up
Yeah.
people to go to the Leftorium.
Because the episode kind of like wraps up relatively like fast from here. He goes to, rule of threes. Once again, he goes to take Bart to karate and then goes to go around the corner to see Flanders, like, and once again try and laugh at his failures. But it's the exact scene from his like hypothetical vision that he had earlier of the shutters closing and the out of business sign, Ned's crying, and then Homer actually starts to
Grows
realize
a conscience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is common for not only him, but Bart in a lot of these situations where, it takes him a lot of time to actually figure out, oh, no, I'm being a fuckwit here. I need to sort of, be a nice person.
Yeah.
This person's in a bad place.
Yeah.
So he then goes from there and goes home and goes to take like the barbecue, just the barbecue, but I assume he's going to take everything else back.
He does say, "I want to give you your stuff back."
Yeah, but he goes to go to the house and then turns around and realizes they're hanging out in the car.
There's a doormat in front of the car door as well.
The Flanders.
Yeah.
Maud's fucking cooking marshmallows for the kids over the cigarette lighter.
Yeah. And then I think Ned says to Rod, who's sitting in the back, like, just got to talk to Uncle Homer for a second. And says, "Why don't you're the man of the car now." And then Rod starts singing, "Gray skies are gonna clear up
straight away.
Face."
They'll just see you use it. It's like, oh man.
They just can't see the predicament they're in, or just refuse to accept that they're in any sort of trouble.
Which is kind of funny that they eventually transition Flanders' character to being like that, but the family has always been like that.
Yeah.
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 So Flanders kind of starts breaking down in front of Homer, and Homer says, like, well, I don't know, like I think he tries to like half admit that a lot of it was his fault, but Flanders sort of like talks over him most of the time and says, like, "You told me from the start this was fucking stupid."
Yeah. My note for that was like Ned was bawling his eyes out, and then Homer's like regretful about his decisions of not helping Ned out, and then pulls out a handkerchief with the initials NF on it.
Oh, that's right. Oh, it was fucking great. Just like nicely embroidered and everything.
Fucking perfect use of it.
So that does bring us into my next note, which is, who's Jerry? So Homer immediately goes to the phone and calls somebody called Jerry, who obviously the animators didn't really, or any of the writers or anything didn't care to give any character to, because he's not shown. It's just a one-sided conversation. There's no voice on the other end or anything.
Yeah.
It's just Homer talking down the phone. Then he calls Mo after that, which is when we had to rewind because once again, Lou the copy is white.
Yeah. He's reverted again.
Yeah, because he's been black already, right?
Yeah. There was a big note about this. I didn't want to write it all because it just took up too much, but this was obviously an episode that was sent to Korea to be animated, but it was a new set of animators, and they got the episode back and it was completely fucked up. Like, they said every scene had something wrong with it. So it was also meant to be in season 2, this episode, but because they had to reanimate it themselves when it got back to them, They just said it was a memorable episode specifically because every scene had an issue.
Wow.
I think the start of the episode was maybe the worst looking. Like when I think Homer goes over to the Flanders place for the barbecue, and it's sort of like you can see lines coming through the animation cells and things like that.
Yeah, you're right. It is pretty janky.
Yeah.
Compared to like the Michael Jackson episode was relatively well animated.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because they purposely put that on for the sweeps week, they wanted to make it look as best as it could.
Yes.
And it had the original animators. My note was after Homer calls all the people up, there's a dude like whose wife answers the phone and she's like, "Oh, it's Homer Simpson." He says, Ned Flanders is in trouble. Ned Flanders.
Well, originally she says something about like, "Oh, it's Homer Simpson on the phone," and he just like, "Tell him I'm not here. It's about Ned Flanders. Ned Flanders is in trouble."
Yeah, that's right.
Instantly up and ready to go.
Yeah. Then it goes to like the Leftorium. Ned's coming up the escalators and Maud and the kids are there saying, "Oh, Ned, it's a miracle." Like the store's packed. And everyone's got their like left-handed things enjoying them. Burnsy's got the left-handed can opener. Mo's got the left-handed corkscrew. And then Akira's got left-handed nunchucks.
Yeah. It's just all the most useless left-handed shit. Yeah, like Mo's like, my new life begins today. And
That's
it's just
right.
like, fucking, it's a corkscrew, cunt.
Barney's got the I'm with Lefty shirt.
Yeah, that's right. What an icebreaker.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason like Ned's money troubles are gone is because Burnsy comes in and buys the Roadster that's there.
That's right. Yeah.
One of 3 made. It's set on the wall.
Yeah. So it would have been, a huge financial boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me the amount of the amount of jokes that are crammed into that 15 to 20 second segment, because those are just the best ones that we spoke about. There is a numerous bunch of other background characters with just useless left-handed shit.
Yeah, exactly. That was my last note, but there was just the rating that the show got and then a critic review as well. Do you have any other notes before we wrap it up?
No, I did, but I spoke about them earlier in the show.
Cool. Since airing, the episode has received mostly positive reviews from television critics. It acquired
better.
A Nielsen rating of 13.9 and was the highest rated show on Fox the week it aired. And then Kirk Baird of the Las Vegas Sun named it the 5th best episode of The Simpsons, and Central Michigan Life called it an instant classic.
Okay, that first one's a big call, but yeah.
I can see it though. It is.
I can see it, yeah.
It's very well rounded, jokes in the right places. It's super emotional in scenes as well.
Yes,
It has a lot of everything. You could probably laugh and cry during the episode if it hit you on the right day.
Yeah, you're right.
Pete Oliver of North Texas Daily said the episode proves that it is possible to laugh and cry at the same time without being able to control either response.
Well, there you go.
I'm a critic now. Critics go in here. Yeah, I agree with that. It is a very easy to watch episode and one that I would watch again.
Yeah.
For sure.
And definitely one that it's not that it's not memorable kind of thing, but it's it didn't stick out to me over some other episodes of season 3 or season 4 kind of thing, if you can sort of put those in the same category.
Yeah.
But it's definitely way better than what I thought it was.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Why are you building chapel?
Because you're all terrible sinners.
Since when?
Since I got here. Now either grab a stone or go to hell.
Alrighty. Season 11, episode 15?
Correct.
Yes.
Titled Missionary Impossible. Synopsis reads, Homer gets in trouble with PBS after confessing he does not have $10,000 to give them for the pledge drive, which he offered to do to get his favorite show back on straight away. After seeking refuge, Reverend Lovejoy sends him to be a missionary on a South Pacific island. He bonds with a girl he calls Lisa Jr. and teaches the natives vices such as gambling and alcohol instead of religion. However, an earthquake on the island causes lava to rise. As Homer falls to his death, Fox asks for donations to keep the network operating.
Yeah. Yeah, I've completely forgot how that episode, and I feel like I do every single time I watch it. I always like look at that last sequence, and I'm like, hang on, how the fuck does this episode end? Are they just gonna fall into lava?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it's just a typical like joke on PBS, not PBC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure we got the same first note.
Gah! You gave me a smash on the noggin last year. I'm
just-
scalded, I am.
Scolded I am. Mine is just gonna give my noggin a flogging.
Well, yeah. The show that Homer was watching was like a shitty British sitcom called Don't Shut Up.
Do shut up.
Do shut up. Don't do what Donnie Don't does. And yeah, it was just classic, just bogan British guys drinking and
Yeah.
like punching each other, essentially.
And they're about to beat the shit out of their mum with cricket bats before it cuts to like a PBS cutaway. And the guy says something to the effect of like, oh yeah, like one of Britain's longest running sitcoms. And today we're playing all 7 episodes.
Yeah. That is quite true though. Like my favorite British show of all time is The Young Ones, and that has 2 seasons. And each season I think has like 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how like popular some stuff is like out of Britain with only like 2 seasons.
Yeah, I'm sure like the Mighty Boosh and stuff like that are probably similar in terms of how small a run they had.
Yeah, I think it's only got like 4 seasons or something like that.
Yeah, there was probably earlier stuff with like John Cleese and stuff like that in it that ran for longer, like Fawlty Towers and.
I don't even think that had many seasons, to be honest.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Monty Python, but they were all movies, weren't they?
movies. Yeah,
Yeah. All pretty good in their own way, but like some British humour sits well and some doesn't.
yeah, you're right. I can't get around all of it, but some of it is fucking great.
Yeah.
Fucking God, it's hard to do so many things at once. We'll get there. My next note is, well, yeah, Betty White comes on the screen and starts like talking about the pledge enforcement drive, or the pledge drive that they're doing, and eventually says that they need $10,000, and Homer just calls up and tries to give his like information anonymously and just says, yeah, I'll pledge $10,000. But she says, through the magic of Instatrace, we figured out it's Homer Simpson of 742 Evergreen Terrace. And then he's like moaning about it, and she says, our pledge enforcement van will be at his house in moments. But until then,
Yeah, that was a great line.
just a fucking SWAT team sent from fucking PBS. It's great.
And then like the van and camera crew all show up at the same time, and Marge and Lisa are out shopping somewhere.
And an entire crowd of people.
Yeah. And Lisa goes, oh, look, Mom, Dad's on PBS. I don't think they show cop chases on that channel.
And they're sitting there watching, and Betty White's asking him about $10,000 and whether it's going to be in cash or something. And Marge is just like, from now on, one of us always stays home. Agreed.
Yeah, they take Homer to the bank to get their money for them. It's probably one of the best scenes in the episode, in my opinion. So, like, they're all going in. At first, Homer's explaining that they're people of Springfield, like their car's fast and their bank's closed.
It's 12:15.
Looks like a real ghost town in there. It's clearly people like coming in and out like a conveyor belt.
The guy just walks up to it. He's just like, ha, ha, ha. Get in there.
Homer walks up to the cashier, just slips a note to him. You are on television. Please play along. Are you robbing me? Homer opens with, I'd like to withdraw $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they like follow him in, and he starts breaking down. They figure out that he doesn't have the money.
Yeah.
And seems like Betty White's going to be all sympathetic, and then she just calls forward her security, which is just the 2 fucking hooligans.
Shut up.
Hooligans.
That whole scene where he's getting chased by like random characters from, I assume, PBS. So
Yeah.
there's like a Japanese guy with a violin, and he shoots the bow.
You die now.
From the violin strings, and hoist it.
God damn it.
That got left in the other episode.
Did it?
Yeah.
Which one?
The newest one.
Did it?
Yep. I listened to it recently.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think we can leave that.
It's like an hour and 20 minutes in. No one cares.
Just not what I did.
The flappy dicky.
Oh, fuck.
And we never beeped. I think one of the best things was as Homer's running away, he gets shot at by the violin, and then like Big Bird like flies in and squawks at him.
There's the Teletubbies shooting like lasers out of their heads at him. Yeah, then he cuts through an alley and Big Bird Big Bird fucking flies, which is like if like he's not supposed to be able to because, you know, he's a giant fucking bird with tiny ass little fucking wings.
Yeah.
So that was a great visual in itself.
Oh, it was. And Homer like sort of runs out of the alley and goes, bingo! Goes towards the church, and on the church board it says bingo,
It says
7 p.m.
Runs through the door, sanctuary, sanctuary.
Which I didn't teach him that word.
That was my favorite too, when he like runs in and he grabs Lovejoy by the shoulders and he's shaking him, and Lovejoy's just like, hang on, do that again.
And then probably the best scene for you when
it was
bin
fucking
gets thrown
great.
through the mosaic.
The bin gets thrown through the church window and fucking Oscar the Grouch pops out. He's just like, give us the dough. And then it's like, Elmo knows where you live.
Oh, it was fucking excellent.
That's like burned into my brain because it was like the promo that they used for that episode back in the day.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was just fucking like, just constantly playing, but it's still funny to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Just Elmo being threatening.
Violent Elmo.
Yeah. So yeah, Lovejoy manages to smuggle him out and says like, "Oh, I'm
just heading to the dump with these children's letters to God."
And they're all just like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah.
So they shove him on a plane, and he says those like two, once again, like sort of iconic lines about "Save me, Jeebus."
Yeah, the highly memed moment.
Yes. Then it cuts to fucking Lovejoy sitting in the Simpsons living room, and he's just eating pie and just sitting there for like 20 or 30 seconds. Like, there's a little bit in my teeth there. And just and Marge is like, you gonna tell us about Homer and like what's going on? And he's just like, says something about like he's gone to Microasia because he's going there to be a missionary. And straight away, Marge goes, he's dead, isn't he?
Makes total sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And yeah, there was a few more moments where Homer calls Jesus Jeebus as well. And I think people got upset at that.
Oh, like when he initially gets to the island?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course they would.
Yeah, because that's my next note. He gets dropped to the island and then like introduced to the tribe, and then these two like other white missionaries, and they're just like, well, I'm Craig. This is Amy. Well, see ya.
Yeah.
Just leave.
Reminiscent of Big Gulps, huh? Well, see you later.
That's I actually have my note written like that. Craig and Amy, huh? Well, see ya.
Yeah, perfect. Forget everything you learnt in missionary school. Done. I loved the
Psalms.
Just has no clue what he's doing.
Just a fucking. This is like peak Homer just being a fucking like oblivious idiot.
Yeah, absolutely moronic.
Yeah,
and like the moth that comes and lands on his arm just instantly ravels itself up and burrows in under his skin and goes up to his brain, and you see it go into his brain, and he's like,
yeah, just fine with it apparently. Just like,
in there.
Oh well.
Yeah, can't do any harm. Are you enjoying your ox testicle? Yep. You sure you wouldn't rather have a coconut? No, thanks.
Yeah, then like 20 seconds later, I can't remember what knocks it out of his hand. It's like a bird or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something, but he just hits the ground. He's like, oh, there's ants all over my testicle. And it's like blatantly jizz falling out of it.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Then little Lisa hands him another one.
Yeah.
That's how he takes a liking to her. Or she says her name. It's just some like 5-piece, like long ass complicated
Native
name.
American name.
I'm going to call you Lisa Jr. Does it cut straight from there to him sitting in
the hammock?
The little hammock, just licking toads.
Oh.
Oh, that one's no good. Licks the other one. Ooh. And then you said this next part was a song reference?
Oh, it sounded like a Bowie song. Is there anybody out there? But I'm pretty sure it's Pink Floyd.
Ah, okay. I don't know.
Yeah. Dark Side of the Moon, I believe.
Someone's screaming at their phone right now.
I'm sure Nick will pull me up if it's not Dark Side of the Moon, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick.
I'm hurtful. It was him. Let's get him, Nicky.
Pelicans can be used to mix cement.
Oh. Now, say a zany catchphrase.
Something like it's the job or something like that. Just fucking dirt.
Immediately dies.
Murders this fucking animal.
Oh, so good. And I think this is when, like, after Homer licks the toad and that Dark Side of the Moon song comes on, he's like looking at the frog, thinking that it's like Marge's voice coming out of this frog, and there ends up being like a sort of two-way radio there where they can communicate.
Yep.
And Homer tells Bart that he's the man of the house now. Lisa, you've been promoted to boy. Maggie, you're now Lisa. And the toaster can be Maggie.
Toaster can fill in for Maggie.
Yeah.
And what does he say to Marge?
Oh,
Her position doesn't change or something like that.
yeah, it was just like basically not a slave, but like a maid.
Yes.
A maid role. Yeah. And then Bart sort of fills in as Homer at work. And he comes in with like Homer's like shirt and tie on with his lunchbox and like skates into Homer's spot. And Lenny and Carl pull up. And Lenny's like, hey, Homer. And Carl's like, hey, that's not Homer. Sure it is. He's parking in his spot.
Yeah, they just immediately come to an agreement. It's like, oh, well, it must be him.
Yeah.
Then he goes and sits down at his workstation, and Burns comes in and starts saying, like, oh, I've been looking at your, like, 10-year report.
Yeah, that's it.
And starts naming all these things. You've caused, like, 17 meltdowns. One is too many.
Yeah.
And he says, you sold uranium to the Iraqis without a markup.
And then Bart's like, hey, I'm not Homer Simpson. He's like, I think I know who Homer Simpson is. And now as punishment, I'm going to sit here and poke you for about an hour or so.
Or he says, I'm getting tired of talking, or my throat's getting sore or something like that. So now I'm just going to poke you for about an hour.
Yeah.
Just fucking...
My next note is when Homer is basically introducing all these Native American people to drinking and gambling. And Homer's making like a island brewed beer. And he says, it's mostly Driston and holy water. My note was, what is Driston? So Driston is a brand name for medication, specifically nasal sprays and oral tablets used to relieve symptoms of cold, flu, and allergies. So he's using their medicine to make beer. And he also says, like, this town doesn't need a chapel or an immunization tent or blah, blah, blah. What it needs is casinos.
Isn't all that cold and flu medicine full of like pseudoephedrine and stuff like that as well?
Usually.
So he's essentially just making like meth beer.
Yeah. Or Mary's that likes to be called.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that like whole thing just falls apart relatively quickly. It's just like the scene of him like opening the casino and showing like how the games work and what's available and stuff like that. And then he goes, I think he goes and has a conversation with like Marge maybe or so. Or
Huck and someone else.
Oh,
you said he has a conversation with Marge.
Yeah, I think so. I think he goes and calls somebody on the radio, or there is another scene in there. Oh, no, it's just that quick scene of, like, Bart getting home from work.
Yeah.
And Marge is talking to him, like, you know, immediately talking to him kind of thing. And he's just like, you know, kind of, like, you know, get in and, like, I've just got home from work.
Yeah.
And she starts to go off at him, like, you know, you're a kid. You can't fucking treat me like this. And it's just like, all right. Well, how about this? Saturday night, we'll go out for steaks. It's you and me. She's like, night out's a night out.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to the island and he goes to walk in expecting everything to be fine and everyone's just killing each other. Everything's on fire.
Yeah.
People flipping tables and shit. How can Ace be 1 and 11? What kind of god would allow that? And then just...
Yeah. And then one of them has like their face in the macaroni and cheese bowls.
The other main guy, like Octotok or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. So then Homer obviously feels guilty about that, which is a through line to the season 3 episode of sort of not knowing consequences until they're smacking him in the face of how he's treating people or how he's going about life in general. So he builds the chapel. Like, because it was sort of crumbly and half built when he got there.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Building you a chapel. Why? Because you're full of sin. Since when? Since I got here. Either grab a stone or go to hell.
Yeah. They'll get into it post-haste. And yeah, after he's finished building it, Lisa Jr. goes up there and is ringing the sort of bell to signify church is starting, I guess.
Yes.
And then Homer goes up there and then licks a toad and then says, God can't hear you from here. Starts like really chiming it.
And starts like essentially like praying essentially to God. And then I think it's supposed to be implied that it's like the vibration from the bell is what did it, but it's obviously implied that like Homer is a massive sinner and God is trying to punish him.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just the apocalypse happens on the island, like fucking
an avalanche of rocks.
Which then like breaks the ground apart and there's fucking lava and shit like that. And then the tower gets burned and starts to fall over, and just as they're about to fall into lava, it cuts to Betty White.
Yeah. Now, if you want to see the end of this or how Homer gets out of this,
Yep.
it's another like telethon drive to
And then
raise money.
My next note is the panel. Have you got everybody that's on the panel?
No.
So it was like David Duchovny,
Yep.
Rupert Murdoch,
Yep.
Hank Hill was in the top right corner, and then Bender was behind Murdoch, and then there was another two people that I don't know who they were.
Yep. There wasn't anything in the cultural references about that, weirdly enough.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just like a spate of people from the Fox network, essentially.
Yeah.
So it was clearly a Fox drive this time. And then someone, again, anonymously donates $10,000, which turns out to be Bart.
Yes.
And then Betty White says, "You've saved our network."
No, isn't that Murdoch that says it?
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
too.
Murdoch jumps up like, "You saved my network."
Yeah. And then Bart goes, "Wouldn't be the first time."
Which we both sort of looked at each other and were like, is that a jab at Fox kind of thing? Because obviously,
was.
yeah. Oh, he's like, oh, you're just assuming it 100% was. Well, yeah,
There was a note
100%
about
is.
it.
But, okay. Would you like to read it?
Please. Jeff Cotton of The Observer characterizes the episode as a classic. Cotton notes, "There's a big finish and one of those jokes at Fox's expense you know they wouldn't allow if The Simpsons wasn't their biggest cash cow."
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah, because 100% they would have been their biggest earner for like a solid 15, nearly 20 years.
Oh, fucking oath. And it like opened the door for so many more animated TV shows because of how well this one like appealed to people.
Yes.
So then I know like Futurama was on Fox, Family Guy was on Fox, and now all the spate of after shows like
And the rest.
yeah, Rick and Morty, Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, all those
fucking
things wouldn't
King of the Hill,
exist
everything.
if The Simpsons wasn't successful, as we've, spoken about hundreds of times on this show.
Yeah,
We've only had like 40 episodes.
feels like hundreds. I've got a couple of critic reviews and then one other thing. Do you have anything else to add before that?
No, I do not, Kent.
Yes, I would. So Missionary Impossible was also named the best episode of the 11th season of The Simpsons by IGN writers Robert Canning, Eric Goldman, Dan Iverson, and Brian Zaromsky. So 4 people from IGN. They highlighted scenes.
Brian Zaromsky.
Oh, I still can't believe that happened in real life. Remember I sent it to
Oh,
you?
that's right. Yeah, it did.
Officer Steve
Grabowski.
Someone's fucking name. So good. So they highlighted scenes such as the building of the Lucky Savage Casino and the destruction of Homer's chapel by an earthquake and a river of lava, but also noted that some of the episode's best humor is back in Springfield after Homer makes Bart the man of the house, as Bart fills in for Homer at the nuclear plant. Mr. Burns berates Homer for his poor performance record, gets tired of talking and ends up just poking Bart with a stick. So I don't know why they've chosen like probably one of the less funny scenes.
Yeah, that's very fucking strange. That's a big fucking leap to make.
There was
like those are the
definitely-
funnious parts of the episode. No, they're not. They are good, and it's a decent little side plot that happens, but it's like, yeah.
Not the best. And then the episode has become study material for sociology courses at University of California, Berkeley, where it is used to examine issues of the production and reception of cultural objects, in this case, a satirical cartoon show, and to figure out what it is trying to tell audiences about aspects primarily of American society and to a lesser extent about other societies.
Okay, then.
And there was like a fucking page-long list of like questions that they actually ask in this course, but it was just boring.
Yeah, we're not here to do
Boring.
fucking paperwork.
Yeah, exactly. But cool that it like the show gets used as study material.
100%.
And it's like a very smart way of getting students involved in things. So like at the time, this would have been massive for probably 18 to 25-year-olds, this show. And imagine you go to university and your professor's giving you like study material, which is The Simpsons. So you have to study a show like this.
Yeah, it would have actually, kept a lot of people engaged.
Exactly, yeah. Which is what I feel is the only way you can really learn is if you're invested in the content itself.
Yes, if you don't give a fuck about what it is you're learning about or what exactly it is you're learning, you're never going to be able to, like,
you won't
take it in. You won't take it into the full capacity.
Yeah, and you won't take what, like, other little things out of it that you might need to fully understand it.
Yeah.
And...
I never thought I'd say this, but I wish Mr. Burns was back.
Hey, if wishes were horses, I'd be eating wish meat every night.
What does that mean?
It means it's not like you're gonna break into the prison and bust them out or anything. Oh, hey, come on. Oh, you can't really be serious about breaking them out.
It's too late to turn back, Mo. We've exchanged meaningful looks.
Now, you can still turn back. The point of no return is the whispered huddle. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Season 21, episode 17.
17. Titled American History EX-CELLENT. Synopsis reads, Mr. Burns is sent to jail for stealing valuable art. Smithers is left in charge at the power plant, and Homer and his friends begin taking advantage of his kindness. In prison, Burns' cellmate converts him into a Christian. When... Really? I wouldn't say Christian.
At no point does he like, oh, no, he does. He does, actually, yeah.
Through the Manson ways.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
When Smithers learns of what the employees are doing, he becomes crueler than Burns. Homer and his friends plan to break him out of prison, but Burns is reluctant to leave until his evil returns. He learns he can use his wealth to buy his way out and resumes control of the power plant. Meanwhile, Bart and Lisa fight and they break her ant farm. Santa's little helper eats all but one ant. They try to care for the ant and they grow closer. When they decide to release it, the dog immediately eats it.
Fuck, that was so good.
That was good. There was a lot of, I think, reminiscence to better seasons here where like they cut from scenes abruptly, which worked in their favor. And there wasn't many instances of jokes just going on for far too long.
I can't think of any. The pacing in this episode was fucking fantastic. Like there was nothing really lingered, which is what we've spoken about before is the problem with these season 20 and 21 episodes, that they just go on with jokes way too long. But everything in this episode was just clean, precise, to the point.
I think it does have to do with like who wrote this episode and produced it. Like John Vitti was credited for it, and I know he's done a lot from like the golden era.
Yep.
So that's probably why it stood out to us.
Yes. What do you got? What's your first note?
Jail. So like, I assume I was like not really thinking that the episode was going to be good. So I was like, all right, I've got to put some notes in here to remind me of what happened. So the episode starts with how it ends essentially, which is what a lot of sort of good movies do in a way. They sort of show an ending but don't give it away.
Well, hang on. That like starting the story at the end kind of thing. Isn't that Shawshank Redemption? Yeah.
So the movie, this episode heavily references the Green Mile, Shawshank, and in some ways American History X, but it doesn't really go down the path of American History X as the title would make it sound like it does.
I feel like they just use that. It's almost a rule of threes kind of thing. They like focus a lot on those two movies, but then they use that third one as just the reference. You know, it's obviously involving Burns. It's probably the best that they could come up with.
Yeah, true. And maybe it sort of portrays like the skinhead groups in prison to some extent.
Maybe, yeah.
That's where it would tie in. But just like loosely referencing.
Yeah.
My next note is just Burns is in all 3 episodes this week.
Oh, yeah, he is too.
And like, he is a main character for sure, but we don't see him all the time.
Yeah, you're right, because there's obviously like certain episodes where Homer's not at the nuclear power plant kind of thing, so he doesn't really have a reason to be involved in it.
Yeah, exactly. And there was like a couple of what would you say? It was like building up nicely in terms of like Burns is basically enslaving all of his employees to stay on Independence Day instead of spending it with their families. And he's getting all of them to do just ridiculous things like cooking all these fancy meals and pouring him all these nice wines. And then they've got like a theater type show that they have to perform as well. And then there's one guy that comes up and Burnsy tells him to break a leg. And then he sort of looks at him and then like lifts his leg up or props his leg up, and Burnsy gives him a hammer and the guy fucking bashes his knee in until it's backwards. And then Burns says like, I didn't like mean for you to do that.
Yeah.
Like why else would he give him a hammer and tell him to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then fires him.
Yeah, that's right.
Fires that guy who like literally broke his leg for him on his command.
Another good thing that I sort of referenced back to the Stonecutters episode, attach the stone of dead presidents. So like Homer comes on stage carrying like Mount Rushmore on his back, and just reminded me of Homer having the stone of shame and then the stone of triumph.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. My next note after that is the hose, then the camera. Oh, that's right. I know what that is. It's all right. And I'm jumping a little bit too far ahead.
Yeah.
So is it pretty much straight after that all right. So yeah, like Homer, they go through that like theater production. Then Homer, Lenny, and Carl are all standing there saying like this is fucked essentially.
Yep.
You know, we should be able to leave and do what we want. And then Homer says, well, since we can't, we're going to, you know, get drunk on Burns' wine.
Yep.
So they break into his wine cellar, start drinking really expensive bottles of wine.
Another rule of threes. So
Yes.
like Carl's bottle's smaller but still expensive, and then Lenny's one is like whatever the word is for the next size up in bottles. And then Homer's got the gigantic wine bottle, and Carl says that bottle's worth $60,000. He's like, woohoo, my salary. And then I think Lenny says something about, before taxes. So then Homer like tips some of it out just on the ground.
Starts grumbling about the government and pours some of the wine on the ground to convey that like this is my tax.
Yeah.
So then it goes straight to a montage of them just wrecking Burns' shit.
They're wearing like a diving suit, a knight's armor, just like chucking shit at each other.
Yeah.
I thought the visual was quite good. So it was basically from whoever was in
I think it was Carl.
in the diver's outfit, and you could hear him breathing, and Homer was like chucking books at him and bottles and stuff like that.
Just heaps of shit.
Yeah.
Then Burns walks in and tells Smithers to call the police. The police turn up and go to arrest Lenny, Carl, and Homer. But then Lou points out that there's a painting on Burns' wall which got stolen from an art gallery in like 1990 or some shit.
Yeah.
So they then arrest him.
Yeah.
Which is when my next note comes up.
Yeah.
Fucking, it was just such a like great visually done scene. So they walk him into like the prison showers, and it looks like he's gonna get like hit from water here, and then he just gets smashed in the back with like a fire hose, just flattened to the wall. And then it goes to like the next scene where he's getting his mugshot taken, and the flash goes off and throws him back into the wall again.
Oh, God, that was good.
Oh, fucking. And like, I feel like it happened exactly the same way with the season 20 episode that was good. We were sort of like watching it sort of haphazardly, like, you know, like that, like chuckling at a couple of jokes and sort of being like, maybe. And then one thing happened and we're like, this is going to be a good episode.
Yeah.
I think that was where it like turned for me. I was like, all right, this one's going to be good.
Yeah. And it like, I don't know, it springs you up to like want to watch more because of like you're thinking things are going to happen, which they did in this case too.
I reckon I took more notes on this episode than I took on like the last 5 season 21 episodes combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
100%.
not that, like, not to say that like this wasn't like the greatest episode of all time, but just compared to what's been around it and what I assume is probably going to turn up next week.
Yeah.
It is pretty fucking good.
Yeah. Definitely the standout so far.
Yes.
Yeah.
My next note is guy clapping with hooks.
Yeah. So that's a little bit further down the line, but my note for that is like it's a through line to the suggestion box from the season 3 episode.
Oh, yeah.
So like Smithers has called like a meeting of like how they're going to, under his control, make the plant like such a better place to work at. And like the suggestion box will no longer just be a guillotine.
Yeah.
And
The
then
guy's like, yay, tink, 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 tink.
Yeah, that was a good visual as well. There was another one where like Smithers is moving into Burns's office and he puts his stuff down on Burns's table and he puts it on like a trap door button.
That was great. Yeah, puts his like flowers down or something. He's like, nah, just falls down the fucking hole.
Yeah, that hasn't been used for ages either.
Yeah, I can't think of the last time I saw like the trap door in Burns' office.
No, like probably hasn't come up in the way we've watched it in my memory.
Not that I can think of, no.
So that was cool to see.
Yeah.
There was also a scene where like Burns was handing over all his possessions when he was like getting taken to jail, and he says that's just a social security card, you dumb cough. So it sort of sounded like dumb cunt.
No. So the guy says, oh, and your social security card. And he says, no, that's an SS card, which is like SS was like I believe it was like the the elite forces of like, you know, Nazi Germany era military. Because
I did have SS card written and I thought it was just social security. And I looked into what dumb cough meant, so I assumed it was a German word. It's meaning stupid head or blockhead in English. Probably the PC way to write or PG way to write dickhead.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, sure, it would probably mean something more offensive in German. But
yeah. There was also one thing as well when the Burns stealing the artwork was that a through line to the Hellfish episode where Burns, tried to steal all the priceless artworks from that too.
Oh, yeah.
So that could have been what was hanging up in all these things, even though that, hey, fun boy, get a room. That guy ended up
he
getting
took
the
them all,
artwork.
yeah.
After the suggestion box guillotine joke with the guy with the metal hands, my next note is Homer giving Smithers a picture for the wank bank.
Oh, that's right. I think it might be jumping a little bit ahead.
Probably.
Because my next note is also a through line one. It says there's been a shared Marge noise in all 3 episodes. So in the very first episode, and I think it was one of the first instances that we've got it of like Marge and Lisa making that same like Marge noise at the same time. We got another one in the season 11 episode where they're both watching PBS at the supermarket.
Yep.
And then in this episode, it's neither of them that does it, but it is the noise, and it's also shared between 2 people. When Bart and Lisa are like arguing over I think they've already broken the amp farm by this point, and Lisa's got the single one up in the like saddy bag on her fucking like chipboard fucking thing.
Yeah.
And Bart says something about like an ant dying or some shit like that, and Homer overhears and says like, "Oh, like Patty and Selma are dead." Turns around and sees them in the hallway and makes some fucking joke. He goes, it looks like he's going to say ghost. He goes, the go, and then just goes, hags. Runs off down the stairs and they both go,
Yeah.
So, yeah, every episode had one this week.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't happen often at all.
No.
Often at all. Often at all. So then the scene that I was referring to, it's Homer, Lenny, Carl, and Smithers like at Moe's having a beer after work, as it seems, and then all of them are sort of saying how much better things are going to be, and Homer is like, "Oh, can I take this day off to see something my kid's doing?" And Smithers is like reluctantly, yeah, sure, I'm pretty lenient. And then Lenny and Carl, or maybe just Lenny, ask for some time off as well, and they both get it. And then Smithers gets a call that sort of interrupts, and it's like it's basically just asking for him to leave a review for something that he
for
did.
his car service or something.
Yeah. And he's like, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Wait a minute, can I change that last one to 4 out of 5? What do you mean I'm wasting your time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nice enough to answer a call like that.
Yeah. Any normal person would have said, "Oh, get fucked," and just hung up.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Then he walks back in, and then they're all sort of mocking how nice Smithers was. and
Yeah,
how easy
just
he was to
talking
take
shit.
advantage of.
Talking shit about taking advantage of him.
You open your heart and they mock your very decency. You open your heart and they mock your very decency. Like Homer's taking a piss out of him.
Stares at him for a couple of seconds. He's just like,
"Oh, I'm in trouble."
yeah. So then I think it cuts straight to them like cleaning the break room, or maybe there's another Bart and Lisa scene in there, but I can't remember it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're cleaning. Yeah, what essentially is the break room. I can't remember what Lenny and Carl are doing, but Homer's like up in the roof, like moving stuff around.
Yeah, he's like patting the ceiling with what they think is like a really, what would you pack it with normally? shit to like keep the house insulated. Insulation.
Insulation, yeah. So he's putting insulation in the roof. He says, "Oh well, at least we got the best insulation."
Asbestos.
Rubs a bit off, and it's like, "Oh." And rubs a bit more off, and it says the best asbestos, and he's like, "Oh, at least we got the best asbestos." Rubs a bit more off, and it says not the best asbestos.
Yeah. A really good rule of threes joke there.
Yeah, it was fucking great. And like we've said, you know, at the start of it, it's just like, if this was another episode, that joke would have gone on for another 10, 15 seconds. I'm going to be like, all right, this sucks.
Yeah.
But it's just like bang, 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 done.
Yeah.
That's it.
It was like when Bart has the broken leg and he's looking at Flanders' house when Lisa's in there trying to find if he's killed Maud or not. And they open the fridge and it says human head.
That's right.
And then they rub it a bit more and it says like Schumann's farm, head of lettuce.
Yes.
It reminded me of that. There was another good rule of threes. It was hell hole, heaven hole, and peep hole.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Can't remember what they pertain to, but 3 hole jokes.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I recall the jokes. I don't remember exactly what scene they were in. I think it was in the next one anyway.
Yeah.
But then it cuts back to the house, and I can't remember what Bart and Lisa are talking about, but they say, "Oh, is it Bart and Lisa, or is it Homer and Marge?" Because I can't remember how Grandpa gets involved. But I just wanted to get to the joke that they made about Grandpa because it was fucking great.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
He says something about like, oh yeah, Bart and Lisa are talking about how they should release the ant.
Yeah,
that's right, and like how it shouldn't live in captivity. It should like have its chance to like live in freedom, kind of thing. And I can't remember who says what, but Lisa says something about like, yeah, it's cruel to do this kind of thing, and Bart's like, why? We do it to Grandpa, and he walks into the room and he says like, oh, what are you talking about? I'm free. And then it like cuts to a thought bubble that he's having and he's in a fucking cage. And he's like, no, you're not, you idiot. He's just like, oh, but it's just gone.
Yeah. Perfect. In and out.
Yeah. Just like it needs to be. I think the next scene is them going to release the ant.
There's one in between that, which is like my second last note apart from releasing Annie, the ant. So the inmate that's sort of taken Burnsy under his wing is like this big hulking black guy, which is reminiscent of John Coffey in The Green Mile.
Yep.
Burnsy's trying to cleanse himself of evil, or John Coffey character is trying to cleanse him of evil. So he says, I'm going to teach you like the Bible that I got given in prison. And it was just Manson's face and then uncovers Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
And we were both like, what the fuck?
That was such a fucking good joke.
Yeah, so good. Perfect. And that's when this guy sort of sucks the evil out of Burnsy. And then Burnsy's like, oh, no, that was just my pre-evil. And then sucks out an even like more disgusting looking thing from him.
Yeah, checks his watch in the middle of it.
Yeah. And then, yeah, my last note is just releasing Annie the ant, which was covered in the synopsis.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything else like good about the main story that like comes in? Oh yeah, so we'll just get to that. Bart and Lisa are out in the field. They're like having this sort of like heartfelt moment where they're releasing the ant, and Bart digs a little hole so it can go into the ground. They put it down and it pulls the camera out and puts the ant into focus, and then all of a sudden Sandy's little helper just walks in, just licks it up and walks off. And instantly Lisa is just like throws Bart's hand away, just like, fuck you.
Yeah. Had to bring the dog.
This is your fault somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I think it's just that other little montage of Homer, Lenny and Carl as security guards, and they go and like break Burns out of prison.
Yeah.
And they have a confrontation with the John Coffey character. He says something about like, I changed you, like, you know, I like sucked all the evil out of you, essentially, for lack of a better term. And Burns says something like, oh, there was still a little bit left between my toes, and now it's spread and I'm a bigger bastard than ever.
Yeah. Yeah, even like profanity like that, they're not used to using it.
Yeah.
Even though it's barely profanity, but
I can't remember how the episode ends.
I think the last scene was the ant getting licked up.
Oh, you're right. That's right. Yeah, it is.
Then it just cuts to black.
Yeah. But, you know, well, my last note, have you got any like reviews or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my last note is this episode is significantly better than all the other season 21 episodes so far. Much better pacing, no lingering jokes, decent effort into the writing, and then still keeping that like constant theme of like really good visual gags, because I've obviously got higher level animation now, so more stuff can be happening in the background, and like just more complex stuff can be happening in the foreground, essentially. Like just the way that like Burns' body is positioned in those two scenes that we were talking about earlier, where he gets hit into the fucking wall by the camera flash and the hose. Like it's just, he's just like bent at a right angle, like that way.
Face against the wall.
Yeah, just like, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so what do you got for reviews?
So the Mr. Burns plot is based on Stephen King's novel The Green Mile, with the inmate being based on the character John Coffey. The episode also parodies elements from the Shawshank Redemption, Shish Kebab, Chicago, you're out of here, by the same author, including the prison and the warden. Another reference to Shawshank is that the felon tears a Rita Hayworth poster off the wall, uncovering a cross. The title is based on the film American History X. The picture in Mr. Burns' office is based on Saturn Devouring His Son by Francisco Goya. Burns' induction to the prison is accompanied by Prison Bound Blues, performed by John Lee Hooker. And then go to the reviews. We've got good old Emily Vanderwerf of the AV Club gave the episode a B, saying, I like Mr. Burns as a character enough, and I like the way the show tells stories about him enough to give this a mildly approving grade. Vanderwerf added that Lisa and Bart's story was just plain stupid. Why would you give it a B then?
Why? This is the most annoying fucking thing. Like, you listen to the reviews that we've now been trying to add in, kind of thing, about like people speaking like lowly of season 11 episodes and stuff like that. Then they'll go and give an episode like this, not to say that this was bad, but it wasn't as good as the season 11 episode.
Yeah.
To give this a higher rating than like what you've been giving those episodes, and then don't really give anything positive in the fucking review.
And don't say anything about parts that you liked. It was just like as a whole, I liked this story.
This was good, but this part I didn't like.
Yeah.
I get paid for this.
So stupid.
Yeah.
And then ending on good old Robert Canning of IGN, gave the episode a 6.9 out of 10, saying it was passable, and though the potential was there, American History Excellent failed to deliver a would-be classic Mr. Burns episode. His time in prison was too mundane. Evil Mr. Burns is always more fun than a kind-hearted Mr. Burns, and new and original ideas are always better than tired Shawshank references. Maybe we'll get an old-school Mr. Burns episode next season. Readers, however, gave the episode 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, which is like what? Yeah. Like critics are just like, I don't know, sort of, it's good because like it gives us something to talk about, but a lot of the time, like the real numbers lie in where the viewers see things.
Yeah, 100%. And like this is just like something to maybe lower your expectations a bit if you read critic reviews, so that way you're not as sort of highly anticipating anything, but at the same time, if you're looking at how someone's watched something and reviewed it, you're wanting positive stuff for then you to want to watch it.
Yes.
Whereas like a lot of these things you have to form your own opinion of, because everyone that matters sucks.
Just gives some fucking middle ground, like I kind of liked it but kind of didn't like it. Here's a C+.
Yeah.
Make your own fucking opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I think that'll do us for this week.
Yeah.
So, we didn't do an intro spiel up the top. So, would you like to tell people where they can find us?
We'll splice this in from the ending to the start.
No, we won't.
You can find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. If you've got any questions or want to reach out, comment on any of those aforementioned platforms, or email us at nokids3moneypodcast@gmail.com. Until then, we'll go fuck ourselves.
We'll see you guys next week.
You're not mad at me, are you?
So we asked ourselves, who's behind the badge? Police? Cops? Police cops.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about that is,